4chan coordinates TQ8. The architecture of fear on the internet is usually built on the vague and the unverifiable, but in 2013, on 4chan's paranormal board, fear was given a geographic location. A user posting under the handle TQ8 didn't offer a ghost story. They offered a challenge. They posted a specific set of GPS coordinates pointing to a desolate, abandoned industrial complex in Tennessee, promising a prize to anyone brave enough to enter Warehouse 3. This wasn't the usual creepypasta fiction. The thread evolved in real time, shifting from a dare into something that looked dangerously like a documentation of a crime scene. TQ8 began uploading images that reverse image searches couldn't identify, a hallmark of genuine original content. These weren't blurry Bigfoot photos. They were high-contrast, flashlit shots of industrial decay, cryptic notes scrawled on paper plates, and most disturbingly, what appeared to be a human body wrapped in plastic. TQ8 referred to this figure with an unsettling casualness, calling the body his friend. The internet loves a puzzle, but it hates a potential murder. The thread exploded. Then, a challenger appeared. A user calling himself Alex announced he was local, he was armed with a phone, and he was going to the coordinates. What followed was one of the most tense live blogging events in forum history. Alex uploaded photos as he breached the perimeter. He documented the descent from the main floor into a subterranean basement with dirt floors, a claustrophobic labyrinth of tunnels and scrap metal and pill bottles. The atmosphere was palpable. Alex described the sound of a slow-moving vehicle on the gravel above him, the terrifying realization that he might not be alone. He found the prize, a plastic bag containing animal bones, and a warning. Then came the silence. Alex posted that he was turning back, fleeing through a vent, and then nothing. He vanished from the thread. For years, this stood as a legitimate cold case of the digital age. Was Alex a victim? Was TQ8 a killer using a 4chan to lure prey? The community dissected every pixel. They linked a man Alex claimed to have met at a nearby Walmart to the TQ8 poster. They analyzed the Alex archives, a repository of the thread that seemed to imply a cover-up involving a figure named Corey Saylor. It had all the ingredients of a true crime documentary. But the solution didn't come from police work. It came from forensic linguistics. As the years ground on, investigators stopped looking at the pixels and started looking at the syntax. A forensic analysis of the writing styles of both Alex, the victim, and TQ8, the villain, revealed a fingerprint in the text. We often think our writing is generic, but we all have idioselects, unique patterns of punctuation, vocabulary, and sentence structure. The analysis was damning. Both users shared identical, highly specific idiosyncrasies. They used the same unusual punctuation errors, the same cadence, and the same specific vocabulary choices. The breakdown proved that Alex, the victim, and TQ8, the villain, were likely the same person, sitting at the same computer, tab-switching between two personas to orchestrate a masterclass in digital theater. The 4chan body coordinates wasn't a murder trap. It was an early, brilliant example of an alternative reality game run by a single puppet master. The mystery wasn't who killed Alex. The mystery was how one person managed to hold the attention of thousands by effectively playing Dungeons and Dragons with himself in a Tennessee basement. The prize wasn't under the plastic. The prize was the attention economy itself. YAYVIDEOGAMES Breakdown. If the TQ8 mystery was a calculated performance, the mystery of YAYVIDEOGAMES was a glimpse into a genuine, unraveling human mind. This serves as a grim reminder that behind every username is a biological entity that can malfunction. It began on Reddit, September 8, 2010. A mundane thread in r/gaming asked users for their favorite mods for The Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion. A user named YAYVIDEOGAMES replied with a slightly aggressive joke about the uninstalled button. When another user expressed confusion, the logic of YAYVIDEOGAMES fractured. The reply was a nonsensical word salad. Ubisoft goes Steamworks bye-bye, always on DRM. To the casual observer, it looked like a bot glitching out. But then the repetition started. YAYVIDEOGAMES didn't just post it once. Over the next few hours, they posted that phrase, or variations of it, over 4,000 times. This wasn't standard spam. The formatting varied wildly. Some iterations were bold, some italicized, some linked to crudely drawn, disturbing images hosted on PhotoBucket. One image simply had the phrase scrawled in shaky, manic handwriting. It felt like a digital scream. The sheer volume and speed suggested a bot, but the variations, the handwriting, the specific reactions to other users screamed human. The account was eventually banned, the thread nuked, and the user vanished, leaving behind a legacy as one of Reddit's most unsettling ghosts. For nearly a decade, Ubisoft goes Steamworks bye-bye became a meme, a shorthand for internet insanity. Theories ranged from a corrupted AI to a bored troll running a script. The solution required a deep dive into the archival underbelly of Reddit, specifically a forgotten subreddit called r/cleanliness. A dedicated investigator named Solisty combed through the digital history and found a link between YAYVIDEOGAMES and a cluster of other accounts, Not Sure How Big You Are and Vinyl Record. By cross-referencing posting habits, linguistic tics, and shared metadata, a heartbreaking picture emerged. These weren't trolls. They were the journals of a man living in Melbourne, Australia, suffering from a severe, debilitating combination of chronic fatigue syndrome and likely medication-induced psychosis. The user, Not Sure How Big You Are, had documented his life in excruciating detail. He spoke of living in a chemical torture room, of severe sleep deprivation, of an obsession with demons stemming from a traumatic religious upbringing as a Jehovah's Witness. He detailed his heavy reliance on opiates to manage chronic pain, admitting to doses of codeine that would floor a horse. The Ubisoft spam wasn't a joke. It was likely a psychotic break or a fugue state induced by sleep deprivation and medication. The user was stuck in a thought loop, a neurological glitch where a phrase repeats obsessively. He was trying to communicate about a video game's digital rights management, DRM, but his mind locked onto the phrase and he spiraled. The mystery of YAYVIDEOGAMES was solved, but the answer wasn't a satisfying gotcha. It was a tragedy. It revealed that the monsters of the internet are often just people in immense pain, screaming into the void, hoping someone, anyone, will parse the signal from the noise. Backrooms location found. In 2019, a single image changed the way the internet processes fear. It was a photo of an empty room, yellow, mono-yellow wallpaper, buzzing fluorescent lights, mismatched carpet. It was captioned simply, "If you're not careful and you no-clip out of reality in the wrong areas, you'll end up in the backrooms." This image launched a massive collaborative fiction project. The Backrooms became the definitive example of liminal spaces, transitional areas that feel wrong because they're devoid of human life. It tapped into a primal collective unconsciousness. We had all been to this room in a dream. Or had we? For years, the origin of the photo was the holy grail of internet archivists. Was it a render, a generated image, a real place? Thousands of digital detectives scoured real estate listings, old furniture catalogs, and office archives. The mystery was finally solved in May 2024, not by a high-tech algorithm, but by the sheer brute force weaponization of autism and boredom that defines the internet's best researchers. A group of users searching for the location of a completely different lost media raceway track stumbled upon a newsletter from a hobby shop in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, the Hobbytown store. Buried in the archives of their 2003 renovation blog was a photo. It was the room. But it wasn't a dimension of infinite horror. It was the second floor of a hobby shop cleared out for renovation to turn it into an RC car racetrack. The photo was taken in 2002. The mismatched walls were just temporary partitions. The terrifying yellow hue was just bad white balance on an early 2000s Sony CyberShot camera. The solution demystified the horror, but it added a profound nostalgia. The Backrooms wasn't a hellscape, it was a mundane Midwestern retail space being prepped for toy cars. The mystery was solved by geolocating the specific water damage patterns on the ceiling tiles. This solve proves that nothing on the internet is truly anonymous. Every pixel contains data. The scariest place on Earth is just a room in Wisconsin where people used to race tiny electric trucks. Reality, it turns out, is often more boring and yet more comforting than the lore we build on top of it. 96.7 FM Mystery Signal. Radio is the original medium of the uncanny. There is something inherently ghostly about a disembodied voice floating through the airwaves. In 2017, residents of Portland, Oregon stumbled upon a frequency that shouldn't have existed. Tune your dial to 96.7 FM and you wouldn't hear top 40 hits. You would hear a nightmare. Sometimes it was hours of static. Sometimes it was a single, piercing tone. Other times it was a chaotic audio collage, chopped up speeches of JFK and MLK, distorted snippets of NASA launch audio, and strange rhythmic bass tones that felt like coded messages. The internet immediately jumped to the most exciting conclusion: a number station. Number stations are shortwave radio broadcasts used by intelligence agencies to transmit encrypted commands to spies. Was Portland the new hub for international espionage? Reddit users Jimmy Saltz and Bocce230 triangulated the signal. They identified the station ID as KZRY-LP, a low-power FM station. But the license belonged to a benign nonprofit, the Community Alliance of Tenants, CAT, a housing justice group. Why was a tenant rights group broadcasting what sounded like a psychological operations mixtape? The mystery deepened when the call sign changed to KNUMLP, but the weird audio continued. Emails to the organization were met with terse, dismissive replies. We are unaware of any interference. The conspiracy theories ran wild. Hijacked signals, rogue employees, government testing. But the solution, uncovered in late 2022, was a lesson in the obscure mechanics of radio broadcasting. It wasn't aspiring, it was a practice known as stunting. When a radio station is preparing to launch a new format or change ownership, they often broadcast bizarre, repetitive, or nonsensical content to hold the frequency open without violating FCC dead air regulations. It's a placeholder. The station was in the process of partnering with X-Ray FM, an experimental radio collective in Portland. The strange audio collage wasn't a code, it was art. It was likely a looped playlist set up by an engineer to keep the transmitter warm while the legal paperwork for the partnership went through. The silence from the organization wasn't a cover-up. It was just a nonprofit being bad at public relations. The creepiest sound on the radio was just the audio equivalent of an under-construction GIF from the 90s web. Erratas algorithm glitch. If you want to find a demon in the 21st century, you don't look in a grimoire, you look in the algorithm. The Erratas mystery is a perfect example of how automated systems can look like hauntings. It started with a 4chan user noticing a discrepancy in the metadata of a random YouTube video. A deep dive revealed a channel called Chronos for Life, seemingly run by a factory worker named Todd, who uploaded videos about Jurassic Park. But hidden in the videos were strange audio glitches. If you turned on the automatic captions, the glitches would translate to a word, erratas. Searching erratas led users to a terrifying rabbit hole. They found a profound connection to a surveillance software company in Hawaii, obscure coding languages, and a suspected cover-up involving a rape case that had been scrubbed from the internet. The theory was that erratas was a keyword used by a deep web algorithm to flag and silence anyone digging into corporate crimes. Users who investigated claimed their computers started acting up, that they were being watched. It was the ultimate tech noir mystery, a rogue AI protecting a corporate conspiracy. The solution, however, revealed that the ghost was just a copyright bot. The Chronos for Life channel was likely an alternate reality game or surrealist art project that never fully launched. But the Erratas caption glitch, that was real. And it was accidental. The YouTube auto-captioning system uses machine learning. When the audio is garbled or indistinct, like the glitches in the video, the AI tries to guess the word. Erratas, meaning errors in Latin or Spanish, was likely a training data artifact or a default null guess in that specific version of the speech-to-text algorithm. The connection to the Hawaii surveillance company? Pure coincidence, a classic case of apophenia, the human tendency to perceive meaningful connections between unrelated things. The internet found a weird word, Googled it, found a company with a similar name, and wove a conspiracy out of thin air. The Erratas algorithm wasn't hunting people, it was just a speech-to-text bot trying to do its job and failing. Kanye Quest 3030 Cult. In 2013, an indie RPG called Kanye Quest 3030 was released. It was a goofy, unauthorized game where Kanye West travels to the year 3030 to rap battle clones. It was a meme game. YouTubers played it, laughed at it, and moved on. But the code held a secret. If a player typed the word ascend into a text box, the game transformed. The hip-hop aesthetics vanished, replaced by a stark, sterile interface. The player was greeted by a message welcoming them to an ascension exercise. This hidden layer wasn't a game, it was a recruitment tool. It asked for personal information, promising to interact with the player's possessions in the real world. It referenced a group called Ascensionism Records. Players found QR codes, encrypted text, and links to websites for a shadowy organization that believed in reincarnation and the destruction of the soul to create primordial soul stuff. It looked like a legitimate cult, using a Kanye West fan game as a Trojan horse to recruit tech-savvy members. The internet panicked. Was this the new Scientology? The unraveling of Kanye Quest is a lesson in the scope of art projects. Investigative journalists tracked the digital footprint of Ascensionism Records. They found the domain registrations led to a single individual, a musician and artist. Further digging into the assets of the game and the related Ascension websites revealed that the cult was actually a transmedia promotion for a specific band and an immersive storytelling project. The cult beliefs were lore. The recruitment was audience engagement. The creator had built a complex, disturbing narrative layer beneath a silly meme game to explore themes of fame and idolatry, literally worshipping celebrities like Kanye West. The mystery wasn't a dangerous sect. It was an ambitious indie developer who realized that the best way to get people to pay attention to your art is to make them think it might kill them. Subways of your mind. For 40 years, it was the internet's favorite song that didn't exist. In the early 1980s, a German teenager recorded a song from the radio onto a cassette tape. He didn't catch the DJ's intro. The song was a moody, new wave track with deep vocals and a melancholic synth line. Decades later, his sister uploaded the track to the internet asking, "Who sings this?" Nobody knew. The search for the most mysterious song on the internet became legendary. It defied Shazam, it defied lyric databases, it defied music historians. Theories ranged from it being a Cold War demo from behind the Iron Curtain to a hoax created by AI. The song became a symbol of lost media, the idea that culture can simply evaporate. For years, the search seemed hopeless. But the internet is a swarm intelligence. Thousands of users began manually scanning the playlists of German radio stations from 1982 to 1984. They contacted aging DJs, they analyzed the frequency of the synthesizers used. And then, in November 2024, a user browsing the archives of a regional German band showcase struck gold. They found an entry for a band from Kiel, Germany, called Thex. They tracked down a former member, unaware of the internet frenzy, who casually produced an old cassette tape from his basement. The song was titled Subways of Your Mind. The mystery wasn't a government psyop. It was just a local band that got played on the radio once or twice and then faded into obscurity, as millions of bands do. The mystery was created by the gap between analog obscurity and digital omniscience. It proved that the internet doesn't know everything yet, but given enough time and enough obsessed Redditors, it eventually will. A858 Reddit code. We end with the Stonehenge of Reddit mysteries. For years, a subreddit named r/A85ADE4556D9BC, shortened to A858, posted nothing but long strings of hexadecimal code. No context, no communication, just endless streams of data. The community that formed around decoding it was massive. They built tools to analyze the hex strings. They found that some of the codes, when converted, created images of Stonehenge or geometric shapes, but the vast majority remained uncrackable. Was it a botnet control channel? A dead man's switch? A recruiting puzzle for the NSA? The A858 project became a masterclass in collaborative cryptography. Users worked for years trying to crack the cipher. And then the creator stepped forward. It wasn't the NSA. It wasn't aliens. It was a graduate student. The creator revealed that A858 was a long-term experiment in crowdsourced decryption. They wanted to see if the internet's hive mind could break complex encryption without a key. When the users failed to crack the main algorithm after years of trying, the creator decided to end the project, posting a final message: "We will all end." The solution is anticlimactic to some, but profound to others. A858 proved the limits of the internet's intelligence. We assume that with enough eyes, any bug is shallow. But A858 showed that a single person, armed with strong enough math, can still keep a secret from millions of people. In an age of total surveillance and data leaks, there is something strangely comforting about a puzzle that we simply weren't smart enough to solve.